every great season has 1 week where I decided to be a dumbass. Or maybe not, maybe it's not necessarily me. But I have to post-com for one reason or another, and that is this week. This time it was because I was a dumbass because I didn't check if my microphone was working because it was working earlier, and then it just didn't. So let's take a stroll down memory lane for me. Maybe not for you. Probably not for you unless you're one of the few goons who watched and call, or maybe even Brody himself. But let's take a stroll down memory lane for me about a week ago to this WPF Week 6 battle going up against Odds Are, aka Brody. Check him out in the description down below, along with all of the other WPF coaches. Leave a like and a comment. I'm trying to make a post-com enjoyable for you all. Let me know if I succeed. But let's take a stroll down memory lane, starting with the Spothra was Terra fighting this week. Choice Banded Qianpao, Bulky, Rocks, Tinkaton, Nasty Plot Subplot Rotom to beat Claude, or EV'd to eat a Poison Jab. With our sub not breaking, Donphan is Helmet for the Slitherwing, and then Scarf Gyarados. And you can see I kind of get railed by Pult because the Tink is Fizzdeath for Meowscarada that didn't come. So it's kind of an interesting game, but let's just get right on into it with the lead matchup. It took me a second to sort of like decide because I didn't really think too much. Compared to BBR, my WPF games are a lot less planned, especially just because I came in as a replacement. That's just kind of how my motivation works. But ultimately, I decide on Galarian Zapdos because if you look at the dual stab resist, he doesn't really have a good one. Like Rotom Heat might be his best answer. He's Terra Slitherwing, so that's something that I have to scout. But like even then, the scout play doesn't involve like checking first impression or anything. It's just U-turning. Don't fall for a Brave Bird bait, basically, because I thought especially Terra Electric was likely, along with Terra Water or Terra Fairy or Terra Dark. Those were the Terras that I expected. But as long as it Terras, it would live a Brave Bird, basically, is what I'm trying to say, unless it Terra into fighting, which is not something I would expect in this matchup. So he goes Booster Attack. Even then, Donphan still walls it. So the play is just to U-turn on out into my Donphan. If he didn't have a good advantageous Terra type, I expected him to switch, and it's a bit hard to lock one of my stabs. So I U-turn, potentially to avoid this exact scenario, which is Terra Electric Slitherwing, which honestly didn't cross my mind until this very moment, and then I was like, oh, thank God I U-turned. But I think I was always going to U-turn to scout the Terra, and we go right into the Donphan. My Donphan this week, I look back at it, probably isn't the best Donphan set, but I've got Rapid Spin. I backed myself to spin this game for the hazards from Brody so that I can keep hazards off for my Qianpao. Here I go for counter, expecting a U-turn, not really being able to hit Rotom Heat, as he just Trailblazes. So he'll take Helmet plus counter and he'll go down. I was expecting him to take Helmet off of a U-turn and then do a fat counter to something coming in. Now I throw the layout because this video had to be even more scout. But yeah, you guys can follow along hopefully a little bit better now, as can I reignite my memory. But so here I didn't know where exactly he was planning on going. I figured Rotom Heat would be a likely pivot, as he does end up going into that Rotom. And I go into my own Rotom because I'm kind of weak to Rotom Heat here. I don't really know where else I could have gone, so it makes a lot of sense. So he does Nasty Plot here, which is fine. He has to be afraid of my own Rotom Nasty Plotting or pumping. So I just go for a substitute to sort of scout, potentially expecting a hard switch, as he Volt switches, so he's either max speed or we will outspeed every time. We win the speed tie there, which is nice. But later on, he informed me that was no speed tie. We were always going to go first there, and the sub is nice. Nasty Plot Volt Switch, interesting bring. But we will see where he goes. Him seeing sub, I expected him to go to Dunsparce or Dragapults as his main ways of beating it, especially if he happened to be Infiltrator Pults, which I thought was something that he could be this week. I figured Clear Body might be a little bit better if he was afraid. I'm pretty sure I have a little bit of Intimidate on this team. Or honestly, he doesn't need it, but like, or Cursed Body, but Infiltrator makes a lot of sense. As I sub up, I probably should have expected this thing to have Gunk Shot, especially after I already showed Substitute. But he gets his rocks, so we already got a free sub, and now we can plot. The play is plotting twice on this thing, I believe, was like the math that I was looking at. So we Nasty Plot once. Beep, beep, beep. Rotom does his little dance, and we get +2 special attack. Claude gunks. Claude misses gunk. Unfortunate one for Brody. So now, even freer Nasty Plot again. So I plot. Da-da-da. Rotom does his little dance. And then he goes gunk. He goes miss. And now I go stored power. +4 stored power. Should nuke this thing, or he shows unaware, and then Hydro would nuke it afterwards. So, yeah, but this is a +4 base 100 power move. But based on him bringing it in on Rotom, obviously he was gonna, you know, be water absorbed. But he did at least acknowledge sub Rotom, like, and brought gunk, because if he didn't acknowledge sub Rotom, he would have just been poison jab to try to fish for poison, did not miss. But the crit does make it go down, depending on investment that mattered or not. I don't know exactly, but Claude goes down. And now he's in an interesting spot. He could just go Specs, Pult, Draco, Infiltrator, and kill me, which is honestly what I was expecting, but this Rotom did its job. It removed the Claude Sire, so now all I have to do after that would be go Donphan, spin, spam, crunch. That would be just like easy, all I have to do, you know? Because he realistically wouldn't stay in with his Dragon Pult, you know, fearing knockoff and stuff, so I would just Rapid Spin. But I pump, and down goes the Rotom. No speed ties there. After him seeing that he got outsped, I was a bit surprised that, you know, he went into it. But I expected him to just be max speed, but he wasn't even max speed, so down goes the Rotom. I'm no special attack investment, so I was like, I don't think I kill really anything on his team. But, you know, you'll see what happens. He goes into Dunsparce, and I'm like, okay, fine. This thing is, at this point, exceeded its value. Let's Hydro. And I Hydro, and I hit the pause for Hydro. Like, this is a bit sped up, so that you don't have to, like, deal with that. The pause for Hydro for me is so scary. Like, that pause is, like, exceedingly long for no reason. I have Bundle also in BBR, and I do my best to avoid clicking Hydro Pump for that very reason. Not even, like, missing, but just, like, the anxiety that comes before. Nah, I don't click because of the miss chance, but, like, still, the anxiety that comes before Hydro Pump, like, you'll see it again. He goes Guard. I expected, you know, him to break the sub, but Hydro Pump, you see that anxiety? Like, that little brief pause, that's the scary part. But we get our leftovers, and now we're Rotom. It's at +4 health behind a Substitute back at full. And now he goes into his Dragapult, which I still thought I didn't kill. But I guess I was probably looking at, like, the default calcs are super weird this gen. Dragapult's a screen setter in OU for some reason. So I was looking at, like, a max HP Dragapult when I was doing that calc, when in fact this stored power goes pop, pop, dead, and we 6-0'd. So that'll grab us back some momentum, help pick us up from the bottom of the standings as we make a playoff push. We got to win out versus T-Row, Star, and new this week, Rose replaced Bruno, so we got to beat Rose at the very end of the season now too. I think we can do it, but stay tuned for more WPF action, and yeah, I'm gonna see you guys next time. You want to watch Team Preview again, don't you? But I'll see you guys again next time. Bye!